Listeners, we're back with another episode of the AI Update with Pavan Agarwal. This is Happy New Year to all of our listeners and all of you that are listening to us on a regular basis. We're so grateful to have you as our listening audience. Again, 3.7 million listeners to this podcast last month alone. We're just excited to continue to share it. And a lot of you are tuning in and calling me about AI. There's no one better to talk about that, especially within the mortgage industry, than Pavan. Pavan, good to have you back, friend. I'm here to talk today about so many people are investing money in AI. They get a great idea. They're innovative. They've made money in their mortgage business and they're going, we've got to get on the AI boat. We got to get on this train. We need to ride this thing because before it takes off and gets away from us. Listeners, I'm going to start off by sharing with you a story that's going to get into and tease up our conversation. Many of you, some of you know, maybe not all, everyone, but I started a tech company in my garage in I believe it was 1979 or 1980. I was given a Heathkit computer. I was a mortgage loaner. I was a branch manager, and I was given a Heathkit computer, the very first microcomputer that was created. This is even before the IBM PC, and a Boeing electrical engineer who I'd financed their home on gave me this. He said, "Do you like gadgets?" I said, "I love gadgets. You ever heard of a computer?" I said, "Oh yeah, I've heard of them." He said, "I don't know much about them." But he gave me one, and it introduced me to the ability and the power of computing. So I started playing with it, but I fell asleep one day, and I got a brainchild. I had an idea come to me literally in a dream of a software spec. That company developed and became reality. But we ran out of money. I ran out of my own money. I brought in some partners, and we ran out of money. And so we needed an investor. And this is where the story gets really interesting. And a lot of people are investing money in, but they get the wrong investors, and the pressure that comes as a result of having an investor in the picture can mess up the best divisions. Now, the company ended up going public, did real well, but they missed the mark. Another one of my clients ended up buying them years later. But Pavan, I want to get in talking about so many people are making the mistake of leaving the main thing, making mortgage loans, and trying to become technologists. You successfully did this. But it's because you started out. Your dad had the mortgage company. You learned mortgage lending, but you were a technologist from the beginning. Talk to those, please, Pavan, that are, in my opinion, I'm worried about them, worried about our listeners, flushing good money down a toilet of investing in technology. Tell us a little bit about your story and a word to the why. From the
I'm gonna turn that around on you a little bit because I love your story about that tech company you started. What was it called again? It was like Interlink or something like that, right?
Software, yeah. At the time, it was called the Loan Officer, but then it became Interlink Software. Yeah, that's how.
Yeah. So if you hadn't taken, let's say you had all the money and you didn't need to take an investor money, what would you have done differently?
Oh, the difference would have been I would have followed and stayed true to my compass. Whereas when the investors come involved, Pavan, do investors really know technology? I think that's a rhetorical question. The answer is no. They know how to get a return on their investment, and they start applying what they believe to be the better course.
Yeah.
And that's the problem.
Yeah, because they need a 3 to 5 year return. They have an exit window of 3 to 5 years, right? And if it's more than that, they're out. Okay. And technology takes a long time. It's not. It's a slow, steady, consistent process. So when you run things on a 3-year window, you end up in trouble. And Steve Jobs had the same problem with the Lisa, right? The Lisa was a great computer, right? It was too expensive, but the board drove him crazy, right? And if they had just put in a couple more, if he stayed the course and put in a couple more years, he would have had just something to destroy everything else. That we would all be using Lisas today. Okay. Yeah. So that's what happens when you don't play the long game with tech, and because the most valuable thing in tech is your intellectual property, and the intellectual property you created with Interlink is I bet a lot of that could still even be used today, if not exactly the same code, but the same ideas.
It was a stepping stone, I think, to future possibilities of what could have been, but it wasn't realized. I mean, they lost the vision, they went public, and it made some money, but unfortunately, what it could have been substantially greater, in my opinion.
Yes. So that's the challenge with anything you do in tech is if you don't have the patience to stick with it, and if you don't have most importantly, you don't have the capital to stick with it. And I've been fortunate that having a successful mortgage company, having plenty of capital to continue to build this over the years, and funding this through the profits of the company.
Yeah, that's the part
that
that's such a good part of your
Yeah.
story is, you know, your dad started the company, you took it over eventually, but it was generating sufficient cash. Were you able to make a significant investment in it? And I'm thinking of several companies right now. I'm thinking of a couple that owns a mortgage company in Atlanta. They're brilliant. They've actually done some pretty good things with their technology. And but I see that they only have this much of a picture, this big. I mean, if you're listening to this, I'm holding up a little bitty space in between my fingers versus the big picture. How did you navigate that? You had the big picture in mind from the beginning, but you started building it on a modularized basis, if I understand correctly.
That's right. It wasn't easy to navigate it. So when we built it piece by piece, like in the 80s, we automated closing documents, and the very first thing we automated was loan initial disclosures and the truth in lending. And we were the first ones to unravel the APR formula. So
and that's when I met you when you were 11 years old. I mean, what kind of gives you a little idea, folks? If you're not writing code when you're 11 years old and figuring that kind of stuff out, you may say this is an interesting hobby. But one thing's a hobby, and that's natural skills, which you did have on.
So
amazing story.
so we built those different pieces. Right. And then so much of that is you build it, you learn, and then you rewrite.
Yeah.
And you make mistakes and do rewrite. And even in AngelAi for the past 7 years, we've rewritten the whole thing top to bottom about 4 or 5 times.
Wow.
Engineering is an iterative process. That's why, every year a new model of BMW comes out because they learn from the previous model and what to do better. Right. So it's the same thing with it's harder with automobiles. Because entire factories have to be changed and so forth. With software, it's a lot easier in that sense, but there's a trade-off. You don't have to redo an entire factory to make a change, but there's a lot to change because the expectations are higher of software.
Yeah.
So it moves faster. The industry moves faster, and you got to be able to keep up with it. Okay, so there's 2 things that are required to build a successful software company. Number one, capital and patience. I'm going to put patient capital, right?
Patient capital. That's a good way to put it.
That's number one. And number 2 is deep theoretical understanding, right?
Well, dive into that a little bit. Explain what you mean. I want our listeners to understand what this is. A significant point, listeners. Go ahead. Go on.
So I'll take an example. There's a company called SAP, and it became it became a high flyer in the 90s. They called consultants came up with the word called ERP systems and so forth. So what they did was they took database technology and WIMP user interface technology. WIMP means Windows icons, menus, pointers, and put it all together in a single package, in a very efficient package. And they made a very simple a programming environment, development environment, like very, very simple development environment. So you need minimal training to create a business application. Okay.
Yes.
So that served them well for years.
Right.
And now the problem is it served them well, but it didn't serve the customers well. Customers paid them big checks, got into it, okay, and they felt good in the beginning because they got their immediate needs addressed. But now the maintenance, what you're paying to SAP is more than the value, and the value you're getting out of it, but you got no choice. You're kind of locked in. So you get these islands that can lock you in when you don't have internal talent that understands the top to bottom. You end up hooking onto somebody else's engine, right? Who has that talent, and then you have to do whatever they tell you to do. So right now, recently SAP came out with a new release of, I forgot what they call it now. I'm not an SAP user, but I follow industry trends because it's relevant. And so they came out with a new release, and they made a forced upgrade. Like customers on the old version had to go to the new version, and then they're suing people who are providing backward compatibility kits and all this kind of stuff. And people who've made the switch are having disasters in their operations, and there's lawsuits with their customers, and all of this stuff is happening, right? So it's
very dysfunctional.
Yes, exactly. So do you really want to build the entire enterprise on somebody else's tech? Okay, so that's really what it boils down to, and it's the same thing like with the loan servicing systems that are out there, right? You're paying. There's only like 2 major loan servicing systems. They're all written in 1960 COBOL, and you're locked in. There's very little you can do with it. Yeah, and they basically end up, because they have a monopoly and you're locked into them. And as a loan servicer, what are you going to do, right? So you pay the bill, and they just keep raising the bill every month, and most of your economics are lost to those companies.
Good point.
Right? So we see the same thing in the mortgage industry. Like it's like these are shrink wrap. These aren't development tools. These are shrink wrap complete packages. Now I see the tech industry doing the same thing with AI. So it's very difficult for a non-tech company, for a legacy company, to build an AI infrastructure. Okay. That means you need to have like if you can go and lease Gemini or whatever, and plug into the data centers and they'll give you like, here's the toolkit, and so now you don't really have to know how it works inside. Just follow the toolkit, connect the dots, and you're going to get something to work, right? And that's, again, you're going to get yourself trapped in that SAP situation.
Same thing.
Yes, yeah, same thing, right? And I don't mean to, if anybody from SAP listening, I don't mean to pick on you.
There were other, just to use it as an example.
Yeah. I mean, there were back in the 90s. There was Power Builder. There was Oracle. What do they call it? Oracle Financials, and they all were doing the same thing. SAP did better than them because they all collapsed, and SAP is still here today. So they're the best of the bunch.
So again, I want to get into this MIT report that you sent me, because I think there's some significant things, developments there. But I really want you listeners that are contemplating starting your own software initiatives to just please think twice. I'm going to say there's what do they say? The number of failures in a new business starting in this comes out of the Small Business Administration is extraordinary. It's 10x of that if it comes to technology. I keep asking everyone I'm consulting to, stay to your main thing. What is the main thing? What is your number one skill set? And stay in that swim lane. Don't get out of it. It's fun if you have a hobby, you want to dabble in some things, that's good, but keep the main thing the main thing.
I would adjust that a little bit. I mean, if you're really a scientist and a researcher, and you have the in-depth knowledge, right?
Yep.
Or even if you don't have it, but you're ready to invest in getting it, and either acquiring it or learning it yourself, right? And with tech, the reason Elon Musk is so successful because he himself knows, with every one of his companies, he studies it and knows the tech inside out before he leads a team of engineers that does it. So if you're whereas you have Meta, right? Mark doesn't, I mean, if you've seen the movie Social Media, it's arguable that he stole Facebook. He just had a disaster with Metaverse, $70 billion write-off, right? Yeah, and he just pushed out his perhaps one of the greatest AI researchers of all time, Lykken, out of his organization.
Like 12, 15 years or something, was he not?
Right, yeah, 12 plus years, right? And he just pushed him out. Where Lykken was actually on, I think he's on the right track, because he's come up with this concept of world AI, and it makes a lot of sense. That's the right way to look at it.
And we blame Zuckerberg for that, but there's a lot of investor pressure that's behind what some of the decisions Zuckerberg or anyone in his position, if you're publicly traded, is pushing their CEOs, founders to do.
Yeah, but that's the CEO's job.
That's right.
He's got to be able to stand up to that. But he gets in a tough spot because he just lost 70 billion on metaverse. It's very hard to recover from a loss
70
that.
billion.
Yeah.
That is the number.
Yeah.
That is,
Yeah. It's very hard to recover from that. That I'm guessing. I have no idea what's going on in that boardroom, but I'm speculating because on the other hand, Elon doesn't succumb to those investor pressures, and he does what he wants to do, and that's kind of his magic, right? Like he's able to control the board, and maybe because he hasn't taken a $70 billion hit yet, and there's no such thing as being perfect every time. No one has got a perfect track record, so maybe when he takes that hit, I'm not wishing that he does, but if he takes a hit like that, maybe then things will be different. So we'll see.
I don't know who started the saying "fail fast" and repeat and get down, but he certainly has failed a number of times. But he fails quickly and makes the necessary adjustments.
Yes.
Significant. So let's move over talking about the MIT report in our update, our New Year update. Give us tell us about the report.
Yeah, this MIT report came out at the end of it's not a report, it's a study, a research paper that came out, I think, right at the end of December or beginning of first couple of days of January, and they call it recursive language model. And when you study it, and our researchers are studying it, I read through it, and I thought, wow, this is super interesting. Our researchers are studying it very carefully as well, because what that research paper explains is how to build a AI that uses low power, that means low GPU power, and can achieve high results. And the architecture that they modeled there is very close to our architecture that we designed before 2017. So our name of the company is Celligence. It's cells, and it's based on neural cells, and that are created and generated in an iterative manner. And that research paper, which by the way is being called in the AI circles, that paper is being called the kind of a groundbreaking paper, like it's a game changer. It says significant.
And you came up with the concepts that this paper presented.
Right.
20 is it 15, 17 years ago?
8-9 years ago.
Oh wow!
We're a commercial enterprise. We're not there. Oh. We're not going to publish all of our top secret stuff, right? Yeah. We're gonna use it.
What does impress me, like Elon shares his knowledge about electric vehicles with Ford and others, and you have been very generous in sharing your knowledge.
I do share a lot of stuff, but the deep secret sauce I don't share. If you go on our white papers, multiple papers we've published in A-star journals, like top peer-reviewed academic journals we publish papers in, where we really have made they're highly well-cited and highly regarded papers about application of AI and using it to make predictions in the mortgage industry.
It's so interesting, man. Yeah. When you start looking at it from a predictive modeling standpoint, I can't wait to get into that. I want to establish this with our listeners, and this is me saying it, guys. Pavan's not going to say it because that's the kind of guy he is. He's pretty humble about it, but he came up with this 7-8 years earlier, and what MIT is just figuring out. MIT's got a lot of smart people in there. Yeah. So I would encourage you to download and get these white papers that Pavan has published. Yeah. Again, it's not the deep secret sauce, but it's got a lot of value.
We want to give back. Mm-hmm. So we give back to the academic world, and we do open source some stuff. The stuff we publish, we open source, because you have to give back to in order to get as well. It's not a one-way. You can't do this in a one-way partnership, and you have to have a level of academic and research credentials in order to have proper dialogue with the community, right? So, but obviously the things that are clearly giving us a competitive advantage, so for example, that MIT paper, our researchers are going through this in detail right now, and quite frankly, I spot a number of places where it's actually overstepping our patents.
Oh,
So
really?
so
How
our
many
research,
patents do you have now? You have
we
how
have
many?
like 110 plus.
Wow.
Right. I think it may be infringing, but it's a academic research. So they're not liable for it's anyone who uses it could possibly
Right.
be
Stepping into your
stepping on our
patent.
patent. Yeah. So we're doing that analysis right now to see where it might be. I mean that's why the valuation is so massive, right? I mean we have 120 billion dollars of equity
I know.
because of all this intellectual property.
Yeah,
So the point is that's just one paper that's figured out a part of what we figured out 10 years ago, right?
right.
They haven't yet. They don't even know yet. Right? No one's figured out what we figured out last month. That's 10 years ahead of everything else, right?
Wow.
And it's interesting that that MIT paper came out in early January. People are talking about it as the next breakthrough. The last big breakthrough paper was Google's "Attention is All You Need" paper from
Oh, I remember
2015.
that one. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And they're talking about this paper as the equivalent of "Attention is All You Need." All right, that's all the buzz. So that paper comes out January 2nd or 3rd. CES happened weeks ago, right? And during CES, right? So a week or two after that paper comes out was CES, Computer Electronics Show, and at the beginning of CES, Elon Musk sends out a tweet that artificial general intelligence is a few months away, right? So I'm pretty sure he's thinking about that paper, right, when he's making that tweet. And that paper is based. That paper is simply what we'd already discovered 8 years ago. But if there's anybody who's really got a real handle on artificial general intelligence and true human-like intelligence and AI, there's two people that are really close on this, and one is Lykken, who just left Meta, and his whole concept of a world AI, and also Dr. Ben Goertzel.
Yes, who you know well.
Yes. These two guys, and they're really like way out there in the frontier of the science.
Yeah, Dr. Ben is such a colorful individual. He's just so. But you've had a chance to interview him, and he's very complimentary of you and what you developed.
Yeah.
You brought up CIS. I mean, this is a little rabbit trail off on what we're talking about here. I love CIS because it's got the latest greatest. What's catching your attention at CIS? I love Google Glasses. Your daughter has not Google Glasses. Your daughter has the Ray-Ban,
the Meta glasses. Yes,
Meta glasses. And I mean, it's fun to see all this latest stuff that's coming out. What do you think is really going to move the needle that they were talking about at CIS that could impact the mortgage industry?
I didn't see anything there that could really impact the mortgage industry. What I think the most, and this wasn't at CES, but the most interesting thing that's come out recently is the new alternatives to NVIDIA GPUs. So Google's TPU, AMD's got stuff, Intel's got stuff. The Chinese just came out with a new chip, and also the analog chips, which I've been talking about for a long time.
I know.
Right, so these are significant advancements that are happening. The other stuff that I saw at CES was a lot of people taking LLM technology, the latest working commercial models of AI, and applying it to things like robotics and other aids and assistant tools. So there's a lot of gadgets in CIS. But I think a lot of those gadgets are either going to disappear or consolidate very quickly, be acquired. They're all building stuff to be acquired by Google one day or by Microsoft one day, and just kind of tack-ons, bolt-ons.
That goes back to I talked to a couple of the innovators. Again, I respect anybody in the mortgage industry who's got the extra money and they want to invest in technology. And you were good to say, maybe if you have this, you can do so. But I think most of them realize they're not going to build an end-to-end solution like you have that has $120 billion valuation. But they're hoping to build it so that someone like you or someone else will pick up and buy what they have. And what is the probability of that? I'm going back and thinking of so many. I care about these people, especially that couple in Atlanta who I enjoy so much as good mortgage bankers and wonderful human beings. And I get concerned about their investment.
Well, I'll put it this way. If you look at Google and OpenAI, they spent literally hundreds of billions of dollars between capital and leverage.
Wow.
right? To build larger AI models and retraining AI models, so that they can turn around and find a net revenue generating application of it, and that hasn't happened yet. Okay, and right, and the CEO of Microsoft just 6 months ago said, "I still can't figure out how to make money with AI. This stuff is really cool, but I can't figure out how to make money with AI." Right? That wasn't that long ago. He said that. Right.
Which is staggering when you look at how much attention, how much investment has gone into it. And if he hasn't, he's a pretty smart guy. Right. He hasn't figured out how to make money with this.
Right. You're right. So if you're going to be building a mortgage AI on top of one of the packages that are commercially available, like Gemini or Llama from Meta or something like that, right? Right. And so you're going to be pouring millions, hundreds of millions into data centers and support technology and so forth to get to apply those packages to your business so that you can turn around and make it into a profit generator.
Right.
Right. Okay. But get in line, because the guys that you're hooking onto, they haven't made money yet either.
Such an important point. Yeah. They haven't made money yet.
Right. So they haven't made money yet, and they're really happy that you're jumping on their bandwagon, right? And buying the GPU power from them that they've put billions into. So right now, if I'm Google or OpenAI, right, and I've just spent $100 billion in data centers, right? Yeah. Well, and I'm like, okay, I get a return on this somehow. What is my priority? My priority is to convince legacy businesses. By legacy business, I mean, mortgage lenders like you, or banks, right, or
join my platform.
Yeah, automobile companies or whatever, right? To say, hey, you know what? We can solve all your problems if you just buy enough GPU space. If you buy enough capacity for my data center, we can automate your whole factory, right? That's the promise.
And the power needs we've talked about. Trump was talking about the power needs, and you're saying there's a new way to produce. I mean, the results with lower power. Is it the chips and the technology? Right. How's that happen?
Well, there's new chips with lower power, but ultimately it's algorithms. Like all our algorithms, the way we were doing it, which now MIT calls recursive language model, we call it transaction language model. Okay, we've been doing it with very little power for all these years, and doing very complex things. Right? I mean, we are giving AngelAi away for free, and I don't have $100 million data centers, right?
I know. A lot of people ask you, how can Pavan afford to do this? He's legitimately doing this. I said he is.
Yeah.
There's the game. Which because you finish your thought there, because
it's because I'm not expending hardly any power, right? I've got like 2 GPUs again for all of AngelAI. For the millions of hits we get every day, I got 2 GPUs running the whole thing, right? That's extraordinary. Right. So you got to put that in perspective. There is something, really interesting happening here, and we're way ahead on innovation.
You were talking earlier about using AI to predict the future. One of the things I want to talk briefly as we wrap this up, I'm going to try to keep these to the point where we don't wear our listeners out. You and I could talk about this for hours and hours on end, but I want to break it into segments. So let's talk a little bit about the future of mortgage lending. You have an amazing unfair advantage. You started AngelAi, Celligence, many, many decades ago. And you've been building it out of earnings. And now you've got to the point where you now have a technology platform that's worth $120 billion. Okay. And it's a game changer. It's not this is the part that I want to listen. Aside from the time and the money invested it's a quantum leap. It's like going from, it's not changing into a new upgrade of a software. It's reinventing the way business is being done. That's the part that I really want to drive home to our listeners. We're not talking about another enhancement or an add-on to your current LOS that's out there. This does away with the entire tech stack that's currently in the marketplace.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. The entire tech stack, the entire way you do business is done away with. There's no more paper management. at all. And no, you don't have to read bank statements. You don't have to read W-2s or pay stubs. You don't have to know, like, the city of Madison, Wisconsin's, pay stub looks this way, and whereas the city of LA County pay stub looks this way, right? And what do all these different codes and stuff mean on it? Because the AI already knows all that. It's figured it out, right? So all of those things create closing problems. Or, what happens in this business is everyone's always, I hate to be so rude. Everyone's always looking for a way to find someone to push the risk off to.
That's right. That's what it is.
Right?
That's exactly right.
Right. So and we saw that 2008 with the CMOs, the risk was pushed up and up and to Wall Street, and Wall Street pushed it off to the CMO buyers who didn't know what was in there. The rating agencies didn't understand what was in there. As a lender, you originate enough loans and you generate enough revenue, take it off the table, and if you get flooded with a wave of buybacks, you can collapse the corporate entity, right? Yeah. That's kind of it's been the MO. It's been, and you've seen this. You've been in the business 40, 50 years, David. You've seen this happen so many times, right? Yeah. Right. So this is not an innovation-based business. It's a sales and risk. The innovations, I would put it this way: the innovation in this business is all around what's the new ways of hiding the risk, and who can we stick the risk to, right? Yeah. And the fundamental difference as a tech company, we're saying, well, if you have a technology-based manufacturing process, right? Why not just build a car that doesn't break down, right? Yeah. So that your reps and warrants, right? So you don't have to get the car back in the shop, and I can create a car with the 10-year and bumper-to-bumper warranty, and not have to worry about it coming back in.
Yeah. No factory recalls, no coming back. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's the point of this, and that's what we've built, and that's why we have a warranty on AngelAi's work. Right? We're the only ones who can do a warranty, because I don't have to depend on single human I don't have a single human point of failure anywhere in the process, right? Yeah. Because every loan's manufactured by the AI.
Yeah, and with such accuracy that the regulators are coming in and coming back and saying, amazing. Talk a little bit about that.
Coming back I mean, just the other day we got a call from one of the GSEs, and they called us out of the blue and they said, "Don't worry." It's not a bad call. It's not a bad call. We're calling because you're the cleanest servicer we've ever seen, right? And we just want to understand what you're doing and how you're doing it, right? Okay, so
is that running on your new servicing system? I know you built a new servicing system.
Yes, that's from our reverse mortgage side of the house.
Okay.
And our reverse mortgage service system, which is now our complete servicing system, we've had that in place for since 2006, right? We've been servicing our own reverses on essentially AngelAi technology. Back in 2004 or 5, back in 2005, we announced, we put out a press release. We announced the first automated underwriting engine for reverse mortgages, and that was, a component of AngelAi back then. That was basically AngelAi. So to put all this in perspective, what does this mean? I think in December, MBA applications were down like 20% or something.
That's right.
I don't remember the exact number. You probably know better than I do on that. Yeah. So it was roughly 20% MBA applications were down, but AngelAi had one of I think the biggest new user growth month. We had over 15,500 new users.
How many?
Registered 15,500 new users registered on AngelAi
in 1 month.
In 1 month, and they were mostly loan officers and realtors.
Yeah, well, it was so much fun. I was talking to someone the other day who was working with a mortgage company, and they were arguing how this loan should be approved and how the underwriter at this particular mortgage company was wrong. And they finally came out and says, "Well, why are you so certain?" The loan officer and the loan officer assistant says, "Well, we ran it through AngelAi, and that system's perfect." It was one of those things where they go like, "What?" So that underwriter has that department now using AngelAi. I mean, I
Yeah.
tell you, there's tools available, and it's for free, Pavan. Kudos to you for
Yeah.
what you've developed and making available to this
Yeah.
industry.
We know a lot of underwriters from a lot of lenders, underwriters and processors from a lot of lenders use it on a regular basis, which is fine. That's what
Yeah.
it's there for.
And you're giving it
We
away.
want,
That's the
yeah,
part.
we want to educate you and say, look, you know what? If I wouldn't be doing my responsibility if I don't say like this is where the world is headed. If I don't educate you about that and help you get along, move forward onto this, then I'd be doing a disservice. And what's the point of having all this, making all this money and having all this tech if I don't share it, right?
Yeah. I tell you, every time I get to gather with you, it's always fun. I learn so much.
Well, the 10-year broke past a critical support. So it's the 10-year at 420 was critical support, and it broke past that. So that's not a good sign for rates. Yeah.
Got to reduce costs.
Yeah. But on the other hand, Trump announced the GSEs buying back $200 billion, so that has dropped. Yeah. Right. So a lot of originators would be saying mortgage rates drop, okay, but 10-year Treasury is rising.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So there's something called OAS, option adjusted spread, which has come down to zero or maybe even heading toward negative territory. This hasn't happened. OAS to zero hasn't happened since COVID. Okay.
Wow.
Right. So essentially, it's an indication of government interference, and it's an indication of quantitative easing, which essentially it is. $200 billion being bought back by Freddie and Fannie.
The Fed.
Right. Yes. It's just a different way of doing QE. But at the same time, the 10-year is rising. Unlike during COVID, the 10-year is rising because the rest of the world is buying gold and silver and not U.S. Treasuries.
And also the disconnection between a flight to quality because of concerns like Venezuela, Iran, and all that seems to be suspended.
Well, there is a flight to quality, but the problem is it's now gold and silver. It's not
gold and silver, which means they've lost confidence in the U.S. dollar.
Right, and this has more to do. It's not just about the record debt we're holding. It's about the policies the last 20 years of this constant war, wars and sanctions, it just wears down the rest of the world. Like, okay, what are we doing here? Right. So, something's got to shift. But the reason I bring this up is MBA applications were down 20% in December, and we're starting to see with the rates rising, I'm sure we're going to see MBA applications down this week as well.
Right.
What we've seen through this whole cycle is the loans coming through because of AngelAi keeps rising. We're adding record number of users and submissions to SunWest is continuing to rise, and it's just basically people in there using AngelAi says, oh wait, I'm getting the answers. Let me just send the loan there. It's easier. That's what's happening.
It's fascinating to see how this
right, and that answers the question is how can I afford to give it away for free? Because if you don't give, you won't receive.
That's right.
So you have to lead by giving value, lead by innovation and providing a service, and then it's like, okay, then it's up to you, right? If you use a service and don't send me any business, God bless you, right?
Yeah.
I'm glad I was able to help. Right.
What do you have your cost to originate on an operational basis down to now?
The last I checked, which was now, it's been 6 months I checked, we were below 150. Yeah, and I'm sure we're lower now. I haven't looked at the latest numbers.
That's staggering. And again, think about what the average industry cost is. It's still operationally around 5,000.
Yeah.
Some have gotten it down to 1,000 or around 1,000. Very few have gotten it below 1,000. Kudos to you, Pavan.
I know when Rocket went IPO, I think they had published like a $900 per loan cost to originate.
Yeah.
But that was at record volumes. The whole industry record volumes. Right.
It's not there now. There's back up. I'm fairly confident. Pavan, so good to have you here again. I love having these interviews, and I love sharing the knowledge you have and what you bring to our industry. Thank you again for being an AI leader, a thought leader, and innovator at levels most people can't even begin to imagine. Thank you so much. And kudos to you, listeners, for taking the time to listen to this. It means you're learning about where the future of the markets are going, both from a financial standpoint, but also generally where our business is heading. Thank you, Pavan. Good to have you here, friend.
Thank you, David.